Hello friends, welcome to Awdhesh Academy. We are going to start the course of Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude of General Studies Paper 4. Friends, this paper is a very important paper because it consists of 250 marks and all questions are compulsory. You have to score very good in this ethics paper if you want to really succeed in the civil services examination. Now, what is expected in this particular paper? Let us first know that a civil servant in this country has to deal with a very complex world. On one side you have politicians, on the other side you have common people, then you have criminals, then you have to also follow the law. You are working under the close scrutiny of the media and the judicial scrutiny. In this situation, you have to deliver your results. So the civil services ethics paper or ethics, integrity and aptitude paper in total actually test how in this complex situation you are going to maintain your honesty and integrity. This paper also want to see how you can solve a complex problem. A civil servant is a practical person. He has to deal with a real life problem. How he is going to solve that problem is a challenge. Most important is that civil services paper 4, that is of ethics, integrity and aptitude, gives lot of case studies. More than 50% of the paper is almost based on the case studies. And case studies will test what is your actual knowledge of the subject. So this is what we have to keep in mind when we are talking about civil services paper 4. Now, the instructions are common and you should understand the instructions for solving the paper because that's very important. The marks are 250 marks. You have 3 hours of time to solve this paper. There will be roughly around 15 to 20 questions in the total paper and they will be given in Hindi and English. All questions are compulsory. This is very, very important. You have no option. If you don't know the answer of a particular question, you miss the marks completely because there is no option. You have to write the answers only in the authorized language. And if you write your answer in any other language, then you lose marks. Then you have to keep the word limit in mind because most of the questions will ask you to answer in 150 or 250 words and you should keep that in mind. It should not be too small, it should not be too large also. You should also see that the blank portion of the paper are clearly striked off because there is no scope of adding anything later on. Now this particular paper has 2 parts. The part 1 of the paper will be of almost 120 marks. There will be around 12 questions and each question will be of 10 marks and you have to answer the question in around 150 words. Now these questions will consist of a specific question from the syllabus. Then you have to explain certain quotations of the great people of India and also abroad or foreign country. You have to actually resolve certain dilemma of the civil servants or a common public or a businessman. And there will be specific questions on the theories and the factual information. Certain questions you cannot answer unless you know the answer very, very accurately. For example, in the General Studies paper 4, in Civil Services 2016, the question was asked, discuss Mahatma Gandhi's concept of 7 sins. Now you cannot answer this question unless you actually know the answer. Similarly, another question was, analyze John Rawls' concept of social justice in the Indian context. Now this question also you just cannot write even a single line unless you know what is John Rawls' concept of social justice. In the same way, there was another question, discuss the Public Service Code as recommended by 2nd Administrative Reform Commission. Now this is another question which you cannot answer unless you have actually gone through the report of the 2nd Administrative Reform Commission. So you cannot bluff. You cannot write whatever you want to write. There are many questions which require total knowledge of the subject. If you don't have that, you will totally miss the marks there. The part 2 of the paper will generally have around 6 case studies and each case study will be of 20 marks. The word limit is 250 words. Now these case studies are actually the practical application of the theoretical knowledge of ethics, integrity and aptitude. Now there will be questions which are designed how you are going to solve the problem using the theoretical knowledge. These case studies will generally deal with the moral dilemma which an honest government servant or an honest manager or an honest citizen face in this country. These are very practical problems. You can actually connect with these problems when you are reading those questions. You require intelligent analysis of the question to know what actually is the mind of the person who has framed the question, and you should have the accurate knowledge of the subject to answer that questions. This many case studies which you are going to learn is actually help you developing an insight so that you can answer any type of case studies in a very intelligent manner. There are many case studies which require you to have the knowledge of specific topics like RTI Act, corporate governance or ethical theories given by Eastern or the Western philosophers. If you don't have that knowledge, it will be very difficult to actually give a satisfactory reply to those. Actually what happens that when you read these question papers, it looks very simple to answer them because the incidents are such that we can connect in the day-to-day life. So we feel, yes, what is the difficulty in answering the question? Now imagine that you ask even a villager, even a layman, even an uneducated man, what is the reason of solar and lunar eclipse? I think everybody can provide some answer. Perhaps an illiterate person who has no knowledge of the science may say that it is because Rahu eats moon or sun and that is why there is a solar or lunar eclipse. But a person who is having a scientific knowledge will give you the right reason that it is because of the alignment of the earth, sun and moon. Now suppose you are writing a science paper and you give the theory of Rahu Ketu, then you can imagine what type of marks you are going to get in the paper. In the same way, the people who are going to check your copies or the examiners are the people who are expert in the topic of ethics, integrity and aptitude, and if you give them the reply which is unscientific, unethical or based on your common sense, then naturally you are not going to score good marks in this paper. We as a human being, we as a citizen of this country should understand certain limitations. First of all, you have to understand that a civil servant is not an omnipotent person. A district magistrate, a commissioner of custom or excise or income tax or a superintendent of police is not somebody who is working in isolation. He has to work within the system. There are many stakeholders. He has to satisfy the politicians, the people, the media, the law, everything has to satisfy. He is a practical person. And only over a period of long time, when you have the experience, you can actually know how you can tackle a realistic situation or a realistic problem. Now, most of the candidates who are appearing in the civil services actually have no idea how a district collector or how SP or how a IRS officer actually work in the field. They only imagine from their mind and then write the answers, and mostly those answers are very different from the reality and therefore they fail to fetch good marks. Most of the people know only half truth, or worst, they know something which is factually incorrect. Why? Because most of the people have a wrong perception of the government. They develop the knowledge of the government from miscellaneous sources, for example, movies, fiction, gossiping, social media, electronic media, or from their own personal experience which they generalize for everybody. Now this knowledge is very wrong because it shows only the negative side mostly, or sometimes the extreme positive side. We actually do not know the reality, and therefore we end up giving the wrong answer to such questions. So unless your knowledge is accurate, you will not be able to answer the questions of Civil Services General Studies Paper 4 accurately. So how can you score better marks in this paper? The first thing is that you have to understand that clear understanding means clear writing. That means unless you understand the matter very clearly, However good writer you may be, your answers cannot be clear enough. And if your answers are not clear, then examiner will not be able to understand and you will not be able to get good marks. Second thing is that you have to understand the very fundamentals of ethics, morality and public service. If you think every situation is a new situation which require innovative solutions, then perhaps you cannot go far. There is no point in reinventing the wheel. The dilemmas or the situation which we are facing in today's world are almost similar to the situations which our ancestors have faced hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, or like that. And therefore, these problems has been deeply analyzed and we should learn from them rather than giving our innovative solutions. We must know the reality as it is and not as should be. We often assume lot many things. We assume that the politician should be like that, bureaucrat should be like that, citizen should be like that, and thereby we end up giving wrong solution. We should actually know what they are and then accordingly suggest the solution. You have to write factually correct, intelligent and practical answers, and that the examiner will be immediately able to know because he is an experienced person. He has a lot of experience of life and therefore he knows whether your solution is going to work or not work. You must avoid unrealistic and impractical idealism. This is the main problem of the young generation. Most of the people are full of idealism and they write such an idealistic answer that it looks totally impossible to implement those ideas, and then they score very poorly in the examination. So you should suggest the practical solutions of the real life problem and then you will be able to score the best marks. So you have to develop the imagination to think creative, because every problem which you are going to face in this paper are the new problems. Every case study is new and therefore you should be able to provide a creative solution to the problems. Now let us understand the scope of this course. First of all, we are going to cover the entire syllabus of the Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude as provided by the UPSC. There will be around 100 video lessons and the durations will be around 15 to 20 minutes, and each lesson you will find notes. So when you are watching the videos, you don't have to take any notes because we will be simultaneously giving you notes in the PDF form. You can download that. We will give you the assignments and the solution of those assignments for each chapter. This will help you knowing how you should write the answers within the time limit and within the word limit. I shall be sharing with you the experience of more than 25 years in the government. So you can be rest assured that the solutions which we are going to discuss are the solutions which actually are going to work in the real life situation. Then we are going to simplify the complex philosophies. The philosophies often appears very complex. Unless you are able to understand it in a very simple language, you will not be able to apply them. We are going to have very interesting and practical application of the quotes of the wise man and the great man, which are very often asked in the civil services examination. There will be taking many quotes and I will explain you so that even if there is a new quote, you can interpret it in a very objective and nice manner. Then we are going to provide you the techniques, how you are going to write great answers within the time limit and within the word limit. And we are also going to provide you the solutions of the previous year's problems so that you know how you are going to write the right answers. So this is the brief overview of the course, and I hope that once you have done it, once you have completed this course, you should be able to tackle any type of problem which are asked in the Civil Services General Studies paper 4. Thank you very much for joining the course, and recommend this course if you like this course to your friends who are preparing for civil services, because that is going to be really helpful to all of you. Thank you very much.